Hello friend, I want to tell you about the Mercedes W221 car. The premiere of the latest generation of Mercedes flagship limousine took place in mid-May 2013. This is good news for those who have been planning to buy the previous generation S-Class for a long time. What to look for before buying this car: in 2010-2011, several engines were replaced with smaller but much more efficient units. Production of the car ended in June 2013. And for some time now, it has been possible to place orders for the successor to the W221, the W222 model in showrooms. There are so many engines offered for the Mercedes S-Class that at first glance it is difficult to choose something specific. However, if you look at them more closely, it turns out that there are much fewer engines than the symbols suggest. For obvious reasons, most people will choose a diesel. Which one will be the best? It all depends on the mileage of the given model and the thickness of the buyer's wallet. If fuel consumption of 15 L/100 kilometers in the city is acceptable to you, then you can safely choose the 4-liter V8. For those who are more economical, a better solution will be the 3-liter V6 engine, which will be happy with 12 to 13 L/100 kilometers when driving in traffic jams. The entry-level diesel engine came to the range quite late, so there are few units with it on the market. But the 2.1-liter inline-4 also copes well with this huge saloon, while using even less fuel. It is also worth remembering that a larger engine means not only more frequent visits to petrol stations, but also more expensive repairs. After all, replacing 8 injectors costs more than 6. Diesel engines are quite durable, but most cars have a lot of mileage behind them, and the equipment also does not last forever. The most common failures are the aforementioned injectors and turbocharger, and repairs will certainly not be cheap. Note that oil leaks also occur. Just in case, it is better to prepare at least a few €100 for minor expenses. If you want to buy a Mercedes South Class to drive it primarily from home to the office, and you spend most of your time in traffic jams, you need to be prepared for problems with the particulate filter. If you think that a diesel engine is not appropriate in such a car, you have a range of powerful petrol engines to choose from. It doesn't matter which engine you choose. Each of them copes perfectly with this heavy car. Units powered by more refined fuel are much more durable and have much lower mileage, but this should not surprise anyone. However, you have to be careful when buying. Before the facelift, Mercedes used defective sprockets on the balance shafts in which the teeth break and wear out. To eliminate the problem, the entire system must be replaced, often including the chain, which has already been filed down. Fuel consumption? Much depends on the driver's driving style. Some basic engines use about 12 L/100 kilometers in the city, others 1 to 2 liters more. In the case of the top versions of AMG or S500 and S600, it will be easy to exceed the barrier of 30 L/100 kilometers. As befits an F-segment limousine, the torque can be transferred to the rear wheels or to all wheels. Peace and quiet in the cabin is ensured by a multi-link, fully independent suspension in richer versions, additionally equipped with pneumatic bellows. Thanks to this, the car does not drive, but floats. The car was not tested in Euro NCAP crash tests, but the equipment itself testifies to its high level of safety. The most impressive gadget is the pre-safe system, which tightens seat belts, closes windows, adjusts seats, and additionally increases braking force before an accident to minimize the effects of a collision. The 7-speed automatic gearbox, which has problems with the module, causes the most problems during operation. The valve housing is also prone to damage, and the torque converter is faulty. The compressor responsible for the correct operation of the air suspension is not very durable. Before buying, it is worth checking whether you can feel vibrations on the steering wheel when driving faster. These may be the first symptoms of a power steering failure. Often, damaged suspension elements are also to blame, and sometimes simply very worn tires. I recommend checking this thoroughly. The biggest problem with this model is its capricious electronics. The multitude of gadgets and various systems makes traveling in the S-Class easier and more enjoyable, but increases the risk of failure. There are cases where the main screen displaying the speedometer and indicator lights goes out. The navigation system is also annoying, sometimes working, sometimes not working. The CD changer, inflatable seats, electrically closing boot lid or sunroof are other weak points of this model. Sometimes the air conditioning likes to go on strike. Fortunately, the source of the failure is usually a very dirty blower. It needs to be cleaned well and it should work properly. The biggest problem, however, is finding a professional service. Users of cars purchased in showrooms already complain about the problems of ASO with quickly identifying the sources of faults. Apart from high maintenance costs and irritating breakdowns, the Mercedes S-Class has practically no serious flaws and can be talked about almost only in superlatives. Comfortable suspension, good driving properties, sensational performance, very rich equipment. This could go on and on. Thanks for listening to me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and rate my video. If you know of any problems with this car that I haven't mentioned, be sure to write about them in the comments.